Hello. A few days ago, I went to the grocery store and I saw this kind of poster. It says Turku without Nazis, and Turku is the Finnish city where I am. And this is some demonstration next Saturday against Nazis in Turku. Unfortunately, I've never seen a Nazi here. I don't think I've ever met a Nazi in real life. But apparently they exist and we have to demonstrate against them. Well, actually, it's counter-protest against the Nordic Resistance Movement, which is like a right-wing nationalist organization, because almost a year ago, on the 18th of August last year, there was the infamous Turku stabbing incident when a very peaceful man from Morocco stabbed 10 people, 2 of them died, and apparently, at least according to Wikipedia, it says that it was an Islamic act of terror, and the killer even had some political manifesto and made a video before the stabbing. I don't know, sounds suspicious. And it says that apparently there is another suspect that the police haven't caught. But anyways, on that day, next Saturday, the Nordic Resistance Movement, they're demonstrating, I guess, against Islamic immigration and terrorism and all of that stuff. And then the lefties or centrists or whoever these people are, like this article from Turun Sanomat, which is a local newspaper in Turku, it says that the printed version of this story erroneously said that Turku without Nazis demonstration is from the far left, but apparently it's not just from the far left that oppose Nazis. And interestingly, like this article here, this is fairly objective and mostly just describes what is happening and all of that stuff. But I read an article earlier, and I think it was from Turun Sanomat, but it's not up anymore if it was, unless it was some other outlet, but I'm pretty sure it was from them. It said stuff like, it mentioned that the Nordic Resistance Movement, like many of the people, like members of the group, have been found guilty of criminal behavior and stuff like that. And I thought, like, okay, this is so fucking objective because the organization itself is not criminal. Certainly certain individuals have committed crimes in it, but so goes for pretty much any political party. But when they talk about some political party, they don't usually mention, like, by the way, there have been criminals in this party as well. And another interesting change is that in the original article that I read, it said that the people who are holding the protest, the anti-Nazi protest, they compared extremist Islam to Nazis, that they're just two sides of the same coin or something. They're equally horrible or something. Well, hello, Sargon and his horseshoe. Well, anyways, if that's true, then why aren't they demonstrating against Islamic terrorism? The Nordic Resistance Movement may have said nasty things. They might have opinions that these communists disagree with, and there might be some individuals who have committed some individual acts, like criminal acts, but clearly they haven't done anything as heinous as, various Islamists in recent years across Europe. Like, just look at Göteborg or Gothenburg in Sweden just a few days ago. More than 100 cars were burned when there were youths throwing firebombs. And as far as I know, I don't know if it's been like determined, like what's their ethnicity or ideology of these youths. So maybe they're just normal Swedes, or maybe they're like Japanese immigrants, but I think we all know who they will turn out to be. So I don't see the commies ever demonstrating against, actual violence. Any group that has demonstrated very clearly that they are not afraid to use violence for whatever random reason, but then these evil right-wingers, those are the people that they have to demonstrate against. And also, like, I should point out that last November, the court ruled that this Nordic Resistance Movement will be shut down, and as far as I know, it's an illegal act because it's not a criminal organization. They haven't been able to, demonstrate that it is or anything like that. But like the Nordic Resistance Movement, they have appealed to the Supreme Court or something, and so we have to see how it goes. But like, I guess if the law passes, then they will be shut down next month in September. So then I guess it will be illegal to identify as a member of this movement. And just to point out, I'm not a member or really even a supporter of this movement, but I am a supporter of their right to free speech and to, share their political opinions and all of that stuff. And I do agree with some of their ideas, not necessarily all of them. Yeah, and let's point out one more thing. This is called Turku without Nazis. So, okay, technically you could call Nordic Resistance Movement Nazis since they are openly National Socialist, but calling them Nazi is a slur, and they're not German. Like, it comes from Nationalsozialismus, whatever, I don't speak German, but, they're not Nazis. Then call them Turku without National Socialists. I might, nod in agreement, like at least they got that thing right. But of course the point is just to label their opposition in the most nasty way possible so that nobody would even listen to them and find out whether regular people had some issues where they agree with these evil Nazis. And yeah, the whole idea about the Nordic Resistance Movement getting shut down is completely hypocritical, since why can't these people have the right to express their political opinions when communists are allowed to do it? Like, there's this Finnish Communist Party, like they don't have any seats in the parliament or anything, so they're not, at least in recent years, they haven't been very popular. But I don't know, maybe since everybody's turning communist, they're gonna be more popular. Then again, like if the regular parties are, basically crypto communists, at least some of them, so what's the point in having a communist party? Because the bigger political parties in Finland also support their basic ideas of, open borders and whatever globalist crap. But yeah, so there isn't any even discussion as far as I know about, shutting down the Communist Party. But the Nordic Resistance Movement, like, of course, it's, we should shut them down. And just to, remind people of Finnish history, we actually did fight 2 wars against the Soviet Union, Communist Soviet Union. So, like, in Finland, we should have a greater history of despising communists because they killed a lot of our people, whereas the Nazis, they were our allies during the Second World Wars. But of course, the people demonstrating against these evil Nazis, they have no sense of history, they have no sense of independent thought, they just basically believe what the TV tells them. And we all know who owns the TV. Okay, so, like, I'm not the National Socialist, but like whenever I see this blatant propaganda against anybody they label Nazis, whether it's in any way applicable to their opposition or not, like I can't help but feel more sympathy towards National Socialism. Or also whenever I see this blatant communist, cultural Marxist, tranny propaganda or whatever, I also feel more connected to National Socialism. So I have to talk about National Socialism, like just a few facts about it. So first of all, many of the alleged atrocities perpetrated by the National Socialist Germans during Second World War have been exaggerated and the Allies' atrocities have been downplayed. The winners write history, and I don't want to get into that tangent any further in this video. And well, the National Socialists, they did manage to make their country prosper, because in the Weimar Republic after World War I, Germany got its ass raped because of treasonous politicians, and you know, Germany was really poor and people were suffering and all of that stuff. But you know, Hitler and the National Socialists, they managed to turn it around, and Germany became a prosperous nation, not only as a, you know, their GDP or something, but their, you know, people seem to be prospering. So that's something that's admirable in my opinion. And of course they got rid of a lot of the, you know, degenerate perversions of the Weimar Republic. Yeah, just that, thinking of the LGBTQPI crap we have now, and yeah, okay, if we need National Socialism to get rid of that, fine. I cannot see any good reason to oppose it. And of course the National Socialists understood the subversive nature of Jews, and well, enough said about that. I've done enough videos talking about Jews, so I don't want to focus too much on it. And of course, Hitler was a leader that wanted the best for his people, and I think that's unfathomable nowadays, because especially in the, you know, last 10 years or so, many Western leaders are openly anti-white or anti-European. They prefer Muslims and trannies and all that shit instead of the native populations of their countries. But like, you know, 20, 30 years ago, that wasn't so obvious, at least. Like, they weren't so blatantly subversive against their own people. But they seem to prefer multinational corporations or banks, or they were pushing all sorts of Orwellian policies. And, you know, they said, oh, they care about the economy, but they didn't care what the economy could do for the people. It's just, you know, the people have to do all the stuff for the economy. So, yeah, in that sense, certainly, Hitler seemed like an admirable leader. And there's also like the argument that, because, well, when it comes to especially communism, but capitalism also, like, you know, you argue with somebody who's a communist or a communist apologist, they say that, oh, communism is a great idea, it just hasn't been tried. Well, it has been, and it's always failed, and the same could be said about capitalism. Or then people say that, well, what we have now is not real capitalism, it's crony capitalism. But, well, National Socialism was tried in Germany in the 30s, and it seemed to work pretty well before the war started. So if we have that, like, we can learn two lessons from it. So, okay, if National Socialism is enacted in a similar way as it was in 30s Germany, it will increase the quality of life of its people in the country, but also that the globalists won't like it and they will declare war on you. And I should point out that Germany did not start World War II, it was Britain. Like, Germany invaded Poland, and you can argue whether or not it was moral or righteous act to do. I'm not quite sure, but Britain declared war on Germany, and Germany sued for peace many times, but Britain just said, fuck you. And then there was the war, and, you know, their excuse supposedly was so that Poland could stay independent. But, well, what happened to Poland after the war ended? It didn't stay independent. It became part of the Soviet Union. Like, these are the fruits that these communists who just hate Nazis or anybody they identify as Nazi, how they affect normal people like me. That, I see the shit they are pushing, and I just like, okay, if these people hate Nazis so much, the Nazis must be, there must be something good about them, because like these people, the establishment nowadays, they are of course horrible, immoral people that push all sorts of harmful ideas and practices, and they don't oppose Islamic terrorism. They don't even oppose wars in the Middle East. They just want the people to, bring civil war or whatever local acts of violence to Europe or America or wherever. I have to mention, like, I guess, there probably are many, let's say, reasonable people who also oppose the idea of National Socialism being promoted. Well, okay, sure, I can respect that. I'm not a National Socialist. I'm just becoming more and more intrigued by their ideas, since the other alternatives seem absolutely shitty. So how about defeating their arguments instead of suppressing them without letting them to have their say? National Socialists, Nazis, they're not the ones on top. They are the little guy. They are the oppressed guy. They speak for the oppressed nowadays, at least. Well, yeah, I think they did in the 30s as well. Why not? They just repeat the same shit. Like, it's a programmed reaction. Oh, this guy is a Nazi. Oh, he's evil. I shouldn't even listen to his arguments. I shouldn't. Harmful ideas they might have. Do you support this ideology that is so reviled? Like, well, polarize the situation more. Some people who have no understanding of history or anything, who just listen to the TV or whatever, a better solution, like maybe it's at least a solution, although it's not the ideal one, but you don't really get this from either, the so-called centrist, and certainly not from the left. I don't know, I just keep wondering if Alex Jones was right, because I remember him saying years ago that, the globalists, they're actually crypto-Nazis, they're Nazis. Like, maybe this is like a global conspiracy to turn everybody into a Nazi supporter with promoting this degenerate communist immigration, no borders, tranny crap. And naturally, eventually, people will rebel against it, and they see no other alternative than National Socialism, so then they start supporting it. I don't know. I'm getting so fucking tired of these fucking commies. And yeah, if they call their opposition Nazis, I'm gonna call anybody who is even remotely against just nationalism, national sovereignty, is a communist. And there's only one type of good communist out there.